It was a quiet morning on the outskirts of a vast, open field. A wild Mustang stood alone, his coat dusty and worn, his eyes filled with a mix of curiosity and caution. He had never been close to humans before, always keeping his distance from anything that wasn't part of the wild. But today, something was different. On the edge of the field, a woman in a wheelchair watched him from afar. She had come here many times, but today, it felt like the start of something new. Her heart raced as she looked at the Mustang, and for the first time, she wondered if the wild horse might see her not as a stranger, but as something more, a friend. This is the beginning of an incredible journey, a journey where trust would be built slowly, one moment at a time. The Mustang was a creature of the wild, untamed, free, and always on alert. Born in the vast, open plains, he had learned to survive on his own, trusting only his instincts. Over time, he had witnessed humans from a distance, but never up close. To him, they were unpredictable, often bringing danger instead of comfort. His mane flowed in the wind, and his hooves pounded the earth, marking his territory. But recently, something had changed. The Mustang had been spotted near a quiet sanctuary, where humans often came to care for the land and its animals. He had become curious about their presence, but his wariness always kept him at a distance. For the most part, he kept to the shadows of the trees, watching them from afar. Today, however, was different. The woman in the wheelchair, who had visited the area regularly, was here again. She moved slowly, her eyes scanning the field, but this time, there was something about her, something in the way she quietly observed him, that seemed to reach out to the Mustang. The wild horse hesitated, then took a cautious step forward, unsure of what this connection might mean. The woman in the wheelchair had always loved animals, but her life had not been easy. A car accident years ago had left her unable to walk, but it never stopped her from pursuing her passion for nature and wildlife. She had found peace in the open fields, where the horses roamed free, and the sound of birds filled the air. Every morning, she would come to the sanctuary, wheeling herself across the gravel paths, hoping for a glimpse of the wild Mustang. She had heard stories about him, how he roamed the plains like a shadow, always just out of reach. But something inside her told her there was more to the Mustang than just a wild spirit. Though she couldn't move as easily as others, her heart was full of determination. She believed that with patience and trust, she could connect with the Mustang, just as she had with other animals in the past. This morning felt different, like a new chapter was about to begin. As she watched him from a distance, she knew she had to try. One early morning, the woman rolled her wheelchair to the edge of the field, as she had done many times before. The air was cool, and the sun was just beginning to rise, casting a soft golden light across the land. She could see him in the distance, the Mustang standing tall and proud, his coat glistening in the early light. For a moment, their eyes locked, and the woman's heart skipped a beat. The Mustang stood motionless, watching her with a mixture of curiosity and caution. She could see the hesitance in his movements, the way his ears flicked at every little sound. He was aware of her presence, but he didn't run. That was different. She stayed still, not wanting to make any sudden moves. Gently, she spoke to him, her voice soft and steady. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." The Mustang took a small step forward, his hooves barely making a sound on the ground. The woman's breath caught in her throat. Was he coming closer? For a few moments, time seemed to stand still, but as quickly as he moved forward, he stopped again, his eyes narrowing slightly, as if unsure whether to trust her. He was still the wild Mustang, unpredictable and free, but something had shifted. They were no longer complete strangers. The first thread of trust had been woven between them. The days turned into weeks, and the woman returned to the field every morning, hoping to get closer to the Mustang. At first, he would always stay at a distance, his eyes watching her warily. Whenever she moved too close, he would turn and trot away, vanishing into the tall grass. But she didn't give up. She started bringing small gifts, apples, carrots, and fresh hay. She placed them on the ground, then retreat several steps back, sitting quietly in her wheelchair. She never rushed, never forced the moment. She simply allowed the Mustang to approach in his own time. It didn't happen overnight, but gradually, the Mustang began to trust her. One morning, After she placed an apple in the grass and backed away, she noticed him lingering. His nostrils flared as he sniffed the air, eyes cautiously scanning her. Slowly, with deliberate steps, he approached the apple, his hooves barely making a sound on the soft earth. The woman held her breath, her heart pounding. He touched the apple with his nose, then pulled it closer, eating it in small, careful bites. She sat still, her hands resting on her lap, her eyes never leaving him. There was no fear in her gaze, only patience and understanding. The Mustang seemed to sense this. Day after day, he returned, coming closer, lingering longer. With each visit, their silent bond deepened. The woman had shown him that trust wasn't something to be rushed. It was something that grew slowly, like the soft connection between the earth and the sky. One chilly morning, the Mustang didn't run. He stood at the edge of the field, watching her closely, his ears pricked forward. The woman wheeled herself slowly towards him, her heart pounding in her chest. This time, she didn't bring food. She simply sat still, her hands resting on her lap, her eyes soft but full of hope. For a long moment, the Mustang stayed where he was, as if weighing the decision. Then, with a tentative step forward, he moved closer, his hooves crunching softly on the ground. The woman held her breath as he approached, his powerful frame moving with grace. Finally, he stopped just a few feet away, close enough for her to reach out. She extended a hand slowly, trembling, but full of warmth and trust. The Mustang lowered his head, sniffing her hand gently, his breath warm in the cold air. It was the first time he had allowed her to come this close, and in that simple gesture, something changed. The emotional walls between them began to crumble. They stood together in quiet understanding, two souls connected by something unspoken, something deep and lasting. As the Mustang gently nudged her hand with his nose, a quiet bond formed between them, an unspoken understanding of trust, patience, and connection. The woman smiled, tears welling up in her eyes. She had never imagined this moment would come, but here it was, as real as the earth beneath them. The Mustang didn't need to be tamed or controlled. He had simply needed someone who would wait, someone who saw him for who he truly was, not just a wild animal, but a soul in need of companionship. For the woman, this unlikely friendship had become more than just a story of survival. It was a reminder that sometimes the most beautiful connections come when we least expect them, and that trust, once earned, can heal in the most unexpected ways.